Hello, it's Professor Welch. I wanted to take a few minutes and review what the expectations are for the ToolWire labs when you go through the ToolWire labs, and then give you some recommendations about how to learn as much as possible for them. So the first thing is the labs allow you to use the tools that are commonly used in the cybersecurity field, and the labs will help you in two ways. One is it will provide you with a skill that you can develop more and more. And I'd ask you to consider some of these tools as tremendously valuable, rivaling even a specific course. And then the second thing is, as you use the tools, it will reveal elements of cybersecurity that are very hard to discern while you're simply reading the book. So go ahead and log into ToolWire, into your ToolWire account like we talked about in the prior lab. And notice again on my screen you won't see all these labs, you'll just see the labs here at the top. And those are the ones that are associated with the specific course labs that we'll do. So the first one is analyzing protocols with Wireshark. And if you haven't used Wireshark before, I think you'll really learn a lot from this particular sequence. Now, what happens when you click on the link on the prior image is this interface here is connected to a server that hosts the labs for you and for me. And what's happening right now is when you click on it, it starts a server operating system to run. Sometimes it's just one, sometimes it may be 2 or 3 different operating systems. But what you've essentially done is you've turned on a computer that's hosted in a data center somewhere, and that computer has an operating system that's configured and has applications suitable for the lab that we're doing. Now the parts of the lab, as you start working through them, so while we're waiting for this to boot up, what I want to do is go through some of the steps. And the tabs here are very well organized. The tabs that you see up here at the top, they're very well organized for sequencing through the lab steps. So the first part is an intro. Now, one of the things that you'll notice about cybersecurity is you need to be a diligent reader, not necessarily to read comprehensively, but the things that are put before you read very well. So as you can see, the tabs are intro, steps, challenge, and assessment, and we'll go through these in turn. So for this lab, when you click on intro, notice now I'm going to leave my presentation the way it is. So on the left-hand side, it will be truncated just a little bit, but that's just because of the particular screen recording software that I'm using. So under the intro, what we're doing is we're analyzing protocols with Wireshark. This will do two things. It'll give you proficiency with the tool, which is Wireshark, and it will enhance your knowledge of the networking protocols to prepare you for awareness of using these protocols in security. So notice this has an introduction. It explains the lab here. The lab has 3 parts that you should complete in order. So this essentially teaches you to use Wireshark. This gives you a capture for Wireshark, and then there's some challenge questions. And down here you can see that these are the learning objectives for this particular lab. And the objectives are what we talked about, which is to learn more about networking protocols by using the tool Wireshark. And then there's the tools and the software that are associated with the lab, and for this particular lab, the tool is Wireshark. And then the deliverables are listed here, and we'll get to those in a second. Now, when you go through these labs, you'll always do the core steps that I'm about to go to. So probably the meat of the lab, or the most important part of the lab, is to click on steps. And what you want to do is you want to work through these steps very diligently. So the steps that are listed in this section, so the hands-on steps, and then the exploring Wireshark, and then as you move to the next part, analyze the Wireshark information. So the part 1 was learning about Wireshark. Part 2 is using Wireshark to analyze the traffic. Now this may seem daunting, and let's have a significant discussion on this. If you're learning something new and it's easy, then I would suggest that you're probably not trying hard enough. On the other hand, if you're trying something new and it's an absolute mystery, then you need to retune your efforts. So what I want to do is give you a sequence of labs and activities and topics in the course that challenge you at each step, because that's the value of the course. This isn't a course where you just read the book, answer some questions, do a multiple choice quiz and declare victory. That is not what this course is about, because those courses won't suit you as you move out into the professional world. This course will. It'll give you a tool. It'll challenge you with the use of the tool and the knowledge of the tool. So if you're the first time you go through this, if you're a little intimidated or a little worried, that's fine. Some people will find this easy. They've already used Wireshark. Some people will find it middly challenging, and some people will find it, frankly, pretty daunting. But what I want to ask everybody to do is just stay the course. The best thing that you can do is you can allow yourself time to work on the labs. And I want to counsel you to not do what some people often do for distance learning classes, which is on Sunday night, log in, do the activities, and in a desultory manner, make the submissions, and then consider that to be learning or mastery. And that's really neither. And that's probably not going to suit those people, and they don't realize that they're not really doing anything to make themselves more valuable in their workforce. So what I want you to do is to start on Monday. And on Monday, go through what we're looking at here in this part of the lab. Just go through the first part. What we saw was part 1. We saw part 2. And in this case, it's just learning about Wireshark. Now, this may seem like there's a lot of information, and there are some details, but the reason that there's so much information is they do a very good job of explaining the screenshots that you're going to see on the right-hand side. So think of what you're seeing in this panel here as the lab guide, which is what it is, so that when I start Wireshark, or I start whatever the associated tool is for the lab, then what you constantly do is you bounce back and forth from the directions over here to the behavior of Wireshark. Okay, so here we have the Wireshark analyzer. Now this presentation here is not a presentation about how to work through this particular lab. This is a more generic presentation about how to work through all the labs. So let's review what we did now. We launched the lab. First of all, we logged into ToolWire. We launched the specific lab. When the intro came up, we read the intro. When the steps came up, we scanned the steps, and we just kind of chunked it into what's part 1, what's part 2, what's part 3, what are the deliverables. You get the idea. Don't worry about the challenge right now. You won't have to do the challenge for all of the labs. Some of the labs you will, but you have to pay attention to the specific labs to see which ones that you need to do the challenge on. But for right now, these steps right here, going through these steps, and I strongly recommend that you go through the steps 2 or 3 times. Wireshark is a very capable protocol analyzer. Is it the most significantly challenging beast on the block? It's not. There are other ones that are more capable and more daunting. But I want to encourage you to, I think what you'll notice is when you first start using Wireshark, at least as I went through this process, I didn't understand what Wireshark was doing. After I spent about a half an hour with it, I thought, wow, this is a really neat tool. And then over time, as I began to use Wireshark, I realized it's an excellent teaching aid for me to become more knowledgeable about networking protocols. That's the first thing. And the second thing, frankly, it allows me to scan wireless traffic for people who are not encrypting their traffic, and as well as use it for other types of behaviors. So what I would be doing now is I'm looking at Wireshark, and now again, this video is not to teach you Wireshark. This video is to teach you how to modulate your efforts as you go through these labs. So an example would be, let me get through this. So right here I'm on the Explore Wireshark, and it says, note, Wireshark is already loaded on the workstation as indicated by the Wireshark shortcut. There's the shortcut. Wireshark can be downloaded free of charge. If you want to use Wireshark on your host desktop or your laptop, you're welcome to do that. And doing it is not a requirement for this lab. And this is why we use remote labs. When you log into a remote lab, everybody will see the same presentation. The configuration will be the same. If there's a problem, you can reset it and it goes right back to a known state. If we tried to do this with each individual student on their own laptop or desktop, it wouldn't work. I've tried that. And what happens is every laptop or desktop is just a little bit different, and the presentation is just a little bit off, and you spend all your time trying to figure out what the differences are, and much less time on the learning objectives. So here's a step. It says double click. So let me close this here. So the step says double click on the Wireshark icon to launch the application. So I'm doing that now. We just saw that. Now there's a figure right here. If I click on this, notice what happens. Now this right here is an image that represents what the Wireshark Protocol Analyzer GUI looks like when I select it. So that's the image, and then there's the real GUI. So what it's saying is the main screen of Wireshark includes several shortcuts. Now I do want to underscore and reiterate, it's necessary to pay attention to detail to be successful in this enterprise here, to understand what's being presented, to make decisions on what's being presented, to ask questions and do research to make sense out of what's being presented. That's not the hallmark of just a security professional. That's the hallmark of a professional. So the Wireshark screen sections that we see here are, you can see the section title. There's the capture right there. The other section title is files. There's files. Online gives you the online resources, etc., etc. So what you'll do is you'll just step through this. As an example, if necessary, click capture the packets in promiscuous mode. I didn't select capture, which it says right here. In the capture section of the Wireshark window, double click the student interface. So in that case, I would click on this, and now I want to make sure I'm in promiscuous mode. So there's directions right over in this section that teach me how to work through this. Now, there's going to be some times where it's not going to be so clear where the next step is. And then the second professional characteristic of an excellent networking professional is that you look for the answer to allow you to get to the next step. So that really means you probably have to go back and read the directions just for a second. Okay, so let's say that you get all the way to the end and you've gone through Wireshark and you're getting comfortable with the Wireshark interface, and you've gotten down to this point right here. So here it says close the virtual lab. Now you may not want to close it, but when you get to this point right here, what you've done is you've essentially completed the steps in these tabs. The next step is you go to the challenge, and there are challenge steps here, and the challenge steps are really to stretch your knowledge regarding what you just learned by working through the steps. If you're working through the challenge, if you're working through the assessment, and you have questions about what you need to know to get to the solution, go back to the steps and work through it again, over and over and over again. So when you're doing the challenge, which you don't have to do for the Wireshark, and you're doing the assessment, which you'll have to do for every lab, and you have any questions about what to do, you keep going back to the steps and you do it over and over again. And I'm here to tell you that I don't want you to be satisfied by a question that you can easily look up the answer to, because we could probably write a script for that. But I want you to start looking for questions that require you to use your tools in a very creative and thoughtful manner, and in this case, to challenge you to learn Wireshark in a creative and thoughtful manner. So what you have to do here is the assessment, and you notice when you click on the assessment here, this comes up. So this is the assessment that you need to submit to me when you're done with this activity. So course number, name number, you can put all this in there. But here's the meat of the material. The lab assessment and answers. I want you to fill this out. Now, there's two ways to do this. You can fill this out in this PDF document in front of you, which I don't recommend. And the reason is you're going to spend all your time fooling around with how the PDF document works. What I would recommend that you do is you just copy all this information here and you put it in a Word document, and then you just write this. Of course, you want the questions, but you provide your answers in a Word document. It'll make it much easier. And again, these activities are superb and they're fun if you start early. If you don't start early, there's going to be two sad outcomes. One is you won't learn anything, which I think ultimately is the most enduring outcome that will impact your opportunities. And the second thing is you'll be frustrated and you'll be stressed. So don't do that. Do not wait till Sunday to work through this lab the first time or the other labs. So there you go. Those are the ToolWire labs. If you have any questions, make your best effort. Don't just try it once and then ask me the question. Make your best effort. Make it again. And then if you have any challenges, let me know. Thank you very much.